Welcome everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of Where Are You Shopping in Your Relationships? Today we're going to be talking about surveillance. Surveillance is not trust. In today's world, it's easy to confuse access with intimacy. It's easy to mistake monitoring for safety and control for care. But let's look at this and let's be entirely honest. Surveillance is not trust. So, in this episode, we're going to explore the subtle and often normalized ways surveillance shows up in our lives. And so, what we're going to be talking about today is the constant checking, the tracking, the questioning, and that endless need for reassurance in relationships. And so, we want to ask the deeper question: what is actually required to build trust? And is trust something automatic, or how long does it take to have trust in a relationship? So, is trust built through control, or is it built through presence and integrity and truth over time? So, today we're going to unpack the difference between awareness and control. So, this is a topic that I've seen online multiple times. So I'm excited to get into this. And we're going to talk about why surveillance erodes the very safety it tries to create. What does insecurity look like when it goes unspoken? And how to begin building trust without losing yourself. And so this conversation today is an invitation to move beyond the fear-based relating, which can sabotage us and our relationships, and to step into something more grounded, honest, and real. So, if you're new to this circle, welcome. So, I'm Mariquita Solis, the Uncaged Heart Coach, and my background is working in residential treatment centers with young boys. And I help individuals today identify these old childhood programs. They were survival programs so that they can retire that armor, that mask that they're wearing, and live with radical authenticity. And guess who's next to me? My incredible co host, Linda Tilson. Linda is a consummate professional and leadership guide. She's very fascinated by human behavior and has a brilliant eye for pattern recognition. And she also encourages people to build lives and connections rooted in core values, clarity, and personal integrity. So, thanks for joining me today, Linda. And let's get into this big topic that can cause so many issues in relationships.
Absolutely. And, you know, one thing that I wanted to share to our audience real quickly is that it's not all about the phone. Okay. So we're going to be getting into why that is. And before we can do that, we want to talk about the difference between awareness and control. And so in our relationships, we want our partners to be aware of what we're doing, who we're doing it with, and have it be less about wanting to control the other person, which means that each person can have their autonomy, they can have their level of privacy. Okay. And so, one of the things I thought that we could really talk about is that the moment you take everything from doing what we call the surveillance of watching what your partner is doing, then you're spending more time doing that than enjoying and building the relationship that you have. You're not showing by those actions that you trust your partner. And, do you trust yourself? Do you trust yourself to be able to come into the relationship and have that trust? And you asked a really good question, Marikita. You said, how long does it take for that trust to be built? And, I think that it is over time. It can change, but it happens before you even commit and form the relationship.
Yeah, it does. I love what you're saying. It happens before you even commit and form the relationship. And that's what I was thinking about, trusting yourself. Do I trust myself to pick a partner with integrity? And if I'm rushing into relationships, am I rushing in so fast that I don't know if they have a high character or high moral values, right? And can I be trusted to wait and go slow enough to find this out?
That's an excellent point there because, when you meet somebody and they want to escalate things very quickly and it's fun, it's exciting, you're lit up and you're really enjoying life, and you might be putting on those blinders to some of the other things. What you want to do is to slow things down and have those deeper conversations. And in those deeper conversations, you want to be understanding, like, here's the one that relates to what we're talking about today. But when you enter a committed relationship, is it a deal breaker if a person that you're dating has opposite sex relationships? Because this here is something that I wanted to speak to, because, if you think that something's going on, or you think that you just can't trust because other things have happened to you in your past, well, there's going to be a problem if you have a partner that does have a lot of opposite sex friends and people that they work with. And if you don't have that conversation up front, you're going to be in for a real surprise later when it could have been avoided up front. And, you know, when those times happen and you're talking about those things, then you're going to have to be able to trust in yourself too when you're asking those questions. And you have to be honest with yourself. Would you accept it if your partner said that you would no longer be able to have your male or female friends? Would it be a deal breaker for you to suspend that? I'm thinking that for me personally, it would be a deal breaker automatically, because then you'd be cutting off half of the world.
Yeah, that would be a deal breaker. And I mean, for me too, it'd be a deal breaker. And I think there, I don't know how. I think what for me, the the partners of the opposite sex bring awareness to how the opposite sex or how they interact with other people, the way they think, the way they feel, and that a lot of times that helps me in my own relationships. And they also can show me things that I might not be aware of that my partner might need or be or saying that I'm blind to. So yeah, this is huge to and how do you even go about that if you're saying, well, I mean, if you agree to that, that's a slippery slope. But I mean, if you agree to that, that's something that would be between you and your partner.
Exactly. And, so having these conversations up front, so that way you're not being blindsided, and being honest about whether or not you agree to that type of commitment. And, maybe you agreed that you could have those relationships. And then later on, there was a situation where your partner wasn't really sure if you were being honest and forthright about your relationships. And they were like, "Oh, I really need to see your phone." And you're like, "Well, you need to be able to trust me that I'm doing the right thing." And instead of getting really defensive about the whole to look at the phone, to not look up the phone thing, you could hand it over and they could do that. It's not going to establish or reestablish trust. Um, what you want to do is to be open, honest, and curious by talking to your partner. Just say, what is it that you're observing or seeing or feeling that's causing you this angst in this relationship that I'm having, that you feel that you need to look at my phone? And that there will give you more insight. And what you do with that insight, you have to think about how you want to meet them. So coming up with a way that you can meet one another when those insecurities happen, or somebody thinking that you've misstepped, have those conversations, not in the moment when everyone feels under fire, but stepping back and really asking that. So that way your relationship is, not operating or not operating out of fear, out of something that somebody is wondering about and want to unpack with you. It's, again, what you said is, you know, establishing trust through your integrity and your presence to show up to the conversation to even have that tough conversation. And so that's that truth that's going to come out over time of whether or not that can happen.
Yeah, you're right. And I've been in the situation, which is very strange because normally I'll say up front, I have male friends, I have, and it's nothing that I hide. That's one way I screen people. But this partner decided after years that somehow trust just out of nowhere. Anyway, I started to be questioned, and showing the phone or doing whatever that worked for maybe 3 days, maybe 2 days, maybe one day, and then it was again, uh-oh, that wasn't working. I mean, it doesn't work to continually show the phone or any of that because it's a temporary, it's like a band-aid. You're not getting to the core root, and what you're talking about, Linda, is addressing the real problem. What's the real issue here, and how can we work together as a team so that everyone feels safe? Because ultimately it's about safety. And what is that fear, and where did that fear come from?
Yes, exactly. And one way that we can make our partner feel safe is by being transparent about who we're out with, what we're doing, when we're going to come back, and then leaving it open that they could check in at any time, and making sure that everything's on the good. If you can do that up front, then the fear is going to be a lot less that you're doing something you shouldn't be doing that's violating the relationship. So that is one way that you can demonstrate that, is by having those conversations in just that way. Um, One of the other things that I wanted to touch upon really is that when there's this need to have surveillance on the phone, there's another deeper issue. And you brought this up in discussion with me, Marikita. And that's the fact that, sometimes people may want to have a private conversation with us. And if we are having someone read our phone and check in and whatnot, well, then anything that that person puts in there and shares, then you're like violating their confidence and trust that the conversation is not going to go outside of your ears. So I thought that that was relevant as well. Yeah, because there are times where there are conversations that it's not our business or not to be a part of, and I think that's fine. I mean, I can think of lots of situations where that can come up. So that there is also another valid reason. And the other thing that I've been thinking about this week as we were unpacking this is really that, a lot of things happen inside our mind, that little bubble that comes above your head. The one that you don't always share to everybody. We can have all kinds of different thoughts, and maybe we need someone to talk to that's not related to us that we can do that with. And I think that's valid and good. And not everyone gets to know every single thought that happens in our head.
That's very true because sometimes you want to just vent to your friend and you don't want, I mean, like if I was venting to you about men, let's just say, or women or anybody, right? And then and then if your husband was reading it, I wouldn't, I mean, that would have been something in the heat of the moment maybe, and I apologized and said, you know what, I shouldn't have spoken that way about the general population, or this was wrong of me. But then if they only read part of it, they might think, gosh, what a horrible person this is, or they might make a judgment. And we're all human beings, we all misspeak, right? So definitely, I mean, there's that violation there. And I remember there was some people do say this is how much I trust my partner, by letting them look at everything on my phone. But yes, again, that could violate my personal things that I've shared with him, and it makes me kind of afraid. I mean, it did when they told me that. Oh yes, we read each other's messages. I didn't say anything bad, or I didn't have anything to hide, but it still made me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, and that's what we want to do, is we want everyone not to be living in uncomfortable land, and to be able to, have these honest conversations about things. Because usually the problem is not what the thing is, which is, can I hand over your phone? Can I see it now? That's the problem. No, it's a deeper rooted issue, which is you're doing things, or I'm catching you not saying the truth, and so therefore I don't trust you. And so that's really the core of this conversation is, what do we do when we meet new people so we can establish the boundaries that we have and express how we want to interact in the way that we're aligned and matched, right? Um, and then the second thing is, okay, you're in an existing relationship, these things come up. How do you confidently talk about them in a way that can be constructive rather than deconstructive?
Yeah, exactly. How do you do that? The coming to my partner and saying, I'm feeling a little insecure. I would really like to talk about it because I want to honor our relationship, right? And I don't want to bring anything into this field that could be my paranoia. So I'm feeling a little afraid now. I see that you're talking to so and so. Can we discuss that? That is so wonderful when we can have these honest conversations where we're not attacking like, oh my gosh, what are you doing talking to that, da 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 da, and then it just goes flies off the handle, and you're saying things that you regret, and then the other person is going to feel very much like a criminal. That's the way I felt. Like, I haven't done anything wrong. Leave me alone. Don't, like, get the heck away from me, right? Because no one wants to be treated like a suspect. So you have to come from a place of love. I love you. I love our relationship. And I'm feeling a little afraid right now. I'm feeling whatever you're feeling. Say it and be honest and vulnerable and work on it together. I have cats underneath me. That's why I'm squirming a lot, just so everyone knows. Okay. Go ahead, Linda.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
Yes, I have two cats too, and they may decide to grace their presence as well. So all is good. Um, and we've spoken a lot about the other person, and at the end of the day, it's what are you going to do? What are you going to do to work on yourself, so that way you can be this person that's not insecure, that's not being hyper vigilant. Because if you find that that is something that you're doing, then it's not helpful to you. It's not helpful to your relationship. You can't have a relationship built on that. And so, asking for support and help to working through those insecurities, maybe some of those past things that you've gone through that might have triggered you to have those behaviors, recognizing those behaviors in yourself, and then reaching out to someone trusted that you could speak to about that, a professional, counselor, therapist. um, in our case, we are guides, and so we have conversations, not as therapists or counselors, but as people that can lead people through ways that they can look at themselves differently, take some steps in communication to get to the point where they get that relationship healthy and growing in a way that honors both people. Because we talk a lot about other people, but we really want to look inward and figure out, okay, how am I showing up here? My partner thinks this, they've approached me with it. Okay, well, do I need to check myself? Is there something that I could do? And I can even ask them for their help. If there's an area that they brought to my attention that was previously a blind spot, I can ask for their support to help me in that. That's a valid thing to ask somebody, because none of us are perfect. We do misstep, but what we need is compassion for one another, and the trust that we could work through things. I mean, that's the bigger issue. That trust is that we could actually have conversations, and that we can actually come to a place that helps us.
And that's very true. And again, not rushing into relationships, right? Really getting to know the person. You don't want to be jumping into bed with someone, and because then what's going to happen? I mean, things are so rushed. You haven't established the foundation of trust. Trust, I mean, for me, I trust people until they show me a reason not to trust them, right? That doesn't mean that I'm just going to go doing whatever, going and scheduling a week-long cruise with someone until I get to know them, right? I'm not going to do that. I mean, I'm going to take care of myself first. So when we wait to to not go into relationships with the physical so fast. You're putting yourself, and you're being honest with yourself, showing yourself integrity and respect. And so you're not going to have these trust violations. I mean, you might have them, but it's the chances are going to be less if you go slow. So it's so important to go slow, and ask yourself the questions. What are you seeing, and what are the people telling you when you do have the conversations like you so recommended? Have those conversations in the beginning to get to know the person. And and, and talk to people. We can be so blinded in the beginning because we're human beings, and and the chemicals are racing, and we don't see red flags. So it's really important also to talk to your friends and ask for advice when we're in this beginning of relationships. Like, is there something that I'm not seeing here that you could see?
Yeah, and no, this touches upon, the area where, when you ask your partner, what would you like me to do if I have something to bring up that's sensitive? How would you like me to do that? How do you, handle style under stress? Do you need to go off and be by yourself, or do you want to talk about it in the moment so that way it doesn't blow up? Having these conversations about style under stress and how we want to be approached when there's something difficult to work on. Don't wait until the moment everything comes to head and you find out that the person, your partner, shuts off every time they feel like they're under attack. And don't wait till it gets like that. No, have those conversations early and often. And we evolve as human beings. So the other thing I would advocate is that we're not one and done. We don't become perfect communicators to never have a conflict. Good relationships are going to have conflicts. Where we get better and improve our relationships is in the quality of how we have those conversations.
Exactly. How do you handle conflict? I mean, that's important to ask when you're first dating someone, right? How do what have they had in the past? What have they learned from conflict in the past? And what would they recommend? And then, yes, like you said, Linda, what do you what makes you feel safe? How can I bring something to the table that needs to be discussed in the way that will make you feel the safest, right? And to share back and forth. Oh my gosh, this is so loving when you do that. And then you can really talk about anything. When there's safety, you can address anything. If there's going to be respect and trust, and this is essential. So thanks for watching, Ellen. I see you're here with us, and let us know if you have any questions or comments. And Ellen is happily married for many years. So trust, yes. In order to have a relationship for years, you have to have that trust. So, um, but this can be a slippery slope in these times when when everyone is so close and connected to the phones, it makes it even more difficult.
It really does. And is this the moment where we would like to talk about our big announcement?
Yes, do it, Linda.
All right. I just wanted to make sure that that was good with you. But Mariquita Solis and I have decided to form a company called The Last First Date. And the reason why we formed this company is because we feel very much as advocates that we have the gift to educate, awaken, and guide people toward healthier, more intentional relationships through the power of self leadership. So, you've heard threads of that in today's conversation. And what we want to do is we want to redefine how modern relationships help individuals to become the kind of partner capable of creating the love that they truly desire. So, how beautiful does that sound?
It sounds great. It sounds wonderful because you are you're in charge, right? And you're not going to be flapping around scared. I mean, this is intentional. This is intentional, calm, reflective, not desperate chasing, but looking at who you are as a leader, and bringing to awareness your strength, your the qualities you have to offer someone else, and what you might be looking for. And just it's just an introduction to a greater way of being in relationships. When we go quietly with respect for both parties and there's no desperation, then the flow happens, the magic happens. It's the frequencies that align and not desperation and like, oh my gosh, I'm a loser or this or that. No, no, no. You are beautiful now. And when you recognize that and step into relationships and create them as a leader of your own life, then everything changes.
Thank you for articulating that. And, the way that we have set up the last first date is the idea that by entering into our different programs that you're going to get that foundational awareness. You're going to find out and clear the patterns in yourself that are making it so that you're not aligned in your connection that you're forming. And at the end of the day, where you're going to be confident, you're going to be intentional at the relation, intentional at being a relationship builder. You're going to remain open because sometimes we become closed off when we look at how our past has been. So we want to be forward thinking about how we can remain open to the love that we want by being the partner that we want and by having those conversations, the tough conversations, the value conversations. And so what we want is that you have trust in yourself, that you have the autonomy to live in the way that you need to, and be able to build that partnership in the way that both people have that. And we know in the modern dating world of that swipe left, swipe right, it's difficult to get that. And we advocate and we will lead people through the things that can happen organically. So when you meet people through an organic process and you take self inventory of yourself and you know what questions to ask, all of these things are things that we will be teaching in our master class. We'll offer one-on-one coaching. And then the ultimate, I want you to describe that one there, Marikita.
Well, it's an organic coming together, right? And an organic process. Once we're talked about core values and we've seen the blind spots maybe that have been brought into relationships before, and we have a new awareness of how to show up differently to create a relationship that actually lasts, built on the foundation, and we've become aware. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be 100% perfect, but aware, right, of what you're bringing in, and then their organic introductions with people that would possibly be on the same frequency, and to see how that goes. But this is a slow process. This is not like some quick, like the same thing we're talking about here. This is not coming from the quickie mart. No, this is coming from the Whole Foods, right? Of organic, intellectual, moral, foundational beliefs, and see how the frequencies vibe.
Thank you. And we will be next week. We'll be switching over to our new YouTube channel. We will share the links so that you don't lose sight of us. And we're going to continue this journey that we started on. And we will be sharing the how we will get there, who this is for, and the ways that you can join us in our community that we're building.
Well, I'm excited about all this, and y'all, let us know if you have any questions. Reach out. We'll be making posts about this, inviting you to learn more about yourself and self reflect with compassion and kindness, not any judging, not any of that, but just a beautiful, reflective process of growing for greater relationships, all kind of relationships, not just romantic, but this affects all kind of relationships. So, and we're growing in the process too. So, so yes. So thank you so much for announcing that, Linda. And thanks, Ellen, for watching, and everyone else. If you're watching, let us know. And if you're interested in learning more about the last first date, let us know, and we'll see you on that channel next week. So, Linda, do you have any final words?
my final words are that I'm looking forward to everything that we're building and more. And so join our community. We have a lot of fun things planned, and we're looking forward to getting to meet you.
Yep, sounds good, everybody. Then we'll see you all in the community. Please recommend this to your single friends. All right, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.